today we test the Pocket 3 as a chin mount versus action cameras, and also test it in the studio setting. Stay tuned, here we go! Hey guys, welcome back to the channel of D2 Destinations. If you haven't been here before, my name is Denny, and we're going to go through a couple of things today, including one of my favorite new cameras, and that's this, the tiny little Pocket 3 from DJI. This particular camera is pretty much all you need for a lot of things. But over the past couple of weeks, I've put it through the paces and filmed in different types of situations. And there's one situation where this does not succeed as well as your good old action camera. And that particular case is as a helmet cam. Pocket 3 has a brace that you can buy, a little case that clips on just like any other GoPro right here. The case will open up. It allows you to put the Pocket 3 right inside, just like that. And it locks in place with this little door. And then you have full access to all of your controls. When you flip this on, it immediately goes to work. The nice thing about this is you can put this as a chin mount right here on your helmet. So if you take this and just slip it in here, just like that, you're locked in. And now you have a helmet cam, which you would think is incredibly cool. However, there's a couple of shortcomings that I wanted to talk to you about. I normally have that up on top of the helmet instead, like that. Now the difference between these two is that the Pocket 3 does not take G-forces very well. So if you're going over some railroad tracks or some really rough road, the 1 or 2 plus G's has a tendency to throw the gimbal off just a little bit. Now there's no moving parts whatsoever in the action camera, whether it's the GoPro or the DJI Action 4. The footage with the Pocket 3 also has an advantage as a vlogging camera because it'll blur the background. The trouble with that is when you're using it as a helmet cam, it tends to focus on your instruments and kind of blurs out where you're going in the distance. And sometimes if you move up a little bit to get the camera above the gauges, it will then focus far, but it will search back and forth. And it's kind of disorienting. But it is a fabulous vlogging camera. But I think if you're going to do action shots, particularly motorcycles, snowmobiles, dirt bikes, whatever, the good old action camera is still a little bit better than the Pocket 3. Now, I have been extremely happy with the Pocket 3, and if you've seen my last video, I talked about if you're going to start a YouTube channel, that's one of the best cameras that you can use just to get a good start with. And I would highly recommend getting a Pocket 3 unless you're exclusively going to use a helmet action cam like this. But the 1-inch sensor, the lower light capability is a lot better with the Pocket 3. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples where we're going down the road and you'll see these bumps and the camera's moving up and down, but the bike is staying stable on the horizon. And it's a little disorienting when you see that kind of movement. And then when you go over the railroad tracks, there's some big G hits and the gimbal really doesn't like forceful movements like that. It's very good with gentle, slow, walking or bicycling on a smooth road kind of environment. But for the heavy jarring, you're better off using a regular action camera. Now I'm going to show you also a clip where I was on the poker run, and on the poker run, that was extremely fun. I had this camera as the action camera for riding on the motorcycle, and then I used the Pocket 3 as I was vlogging and going into the different checkpoints on the poker run. And as you can see in the video, when I'm talking about my card and what cards I'm going to need next, the card itself and my face are tightly in focus, but the background is out of focus. And that's exactly what you want when you're vlogging. But the problem with it, again, on the helmet here is that it'll focus on the instrument cluster. Now, on the Goldwing, the instrument cluster is a big part of what's in front of you. If you ride a different style motorcycle without a large instrument cluster in front of you, it may work a little bit better for you. As an absolute complement to an action camera, definitely the way to go. Right now we're gonna switch over and put the Pocket 3 on the tripod as a studio camera and see how that compares. But one other thing, right now I am currently using a mic up here for the audio. I'm gonna switch over to the DJI Mark II, and what just arrived, because they were on back order, is this DJI lavalier microphone. So I'll get this hooked up and we'll see how it compares to what you've been watching. Welcome back. What I've done now is hooked up the Pocket 3 with the DJI wireless Mark II, and I've put it on the lav. You can see the lav here, and I have the transmitter right here. You can put that on your pocket or out of the way and clip it onto your belt. One of the nice things about this transmitter is you can start and stop the recording just by pushing on the link button on the side. Once they are paired up, that serves as your start and stop for recording. For comparative purposes, what I'm doing right now is shooting side by side so you can see a difference of the studio shooting compared to having a Pocket 3 versus a Canon camera, which is a mirrorless camera. So there's a little bit of a difference between the two, but I think the audio with this new lavalier mic is just as strong as the audio which I'm using a boom mic for the Canon mirrorless camera. So you can compare the two different audio sets. I think that the Pocket 3 holds up extremely well as a studio camera as well as a vlogging camera. And again, as I mentioned earlier, just on the chin mount with the helmet, it just doesn't really like the high G-forces. The gimbal gets a little jittery when there's too much force going on it. So for that, you want to stick with just your basic action camera, whether it's a GoPro or one of the DJI Action 4, or you have the Insta 360 Ace as well. But I think if you have a combination of the Pocket 3 and an action camera, that's about all you need, because it serves extremely well as a studio camera. As you can see right now, I'm concentrating on looking at the Pocket 3. The Canon camera over here, I'll run the comparison between the two, but even just looking at the display with the coloring on the lens, I think it's really good on the Pocket 3. I just wanted to show you some footage of the mirrorless camera I usually use as a studio camera. This is a Canon M50 Mark II. It has the famous YouTuber lens on it, which is the Sigma 16mm 1.4. So you get really good bokeh in the background. It's not a very large camera. I've put the small rig cage on it so you can put microphones on here, as well as lights if you're going to be in low light or whatever. But this camera is extremely functional. It does very well in the studio, but it is a little bigger than carrying around the Pocket 3. The Pocket 3 is just so light and convenient. With this, you have to hold it out and vlog like this. It can get heavy, particularly if you have a microphone on there, which I always do when I'm vlogging with the mirrorless. But the Pocket 3 is just so light and small, compact. It's just a great travel camera. So the duo between the Pocket 3 and a good action camera, I think, is the way to go. Rather than spending, you know, on the Sonys, you're looking at spending $2,000 to $3,000, or the top of the line new Canons are in the same range. If you're going to start with a mirrorless, start with something simple like this. But I think you don't need that really anymore. Now that the Pocket 3 has come out, it's really replaced the mirrorless camera for the most part. Thanks again for tuning in today. I hope this information about the different cameras was very helpful for you. As you can see, I'm really excited about the Pocket 3. I think it's a great little camera, particularly for travel and vlogging. It's absolutely outstanding. So no matter what you're doing, if you're into the action sports, have an action cam. If you're only going to do studio stuff, you can have, you know, the big mirrorless. But if you want an all-arounder with great video, great audio with the little lav here, it's just dynamic. So highly recommend the DJI Pocket 3. I will have links to all of the products we've talked about today in the description below. If you want to purchase those, please use the links. You don't pay a dime more for the products at all. The channel does get a very small commission for that. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. And now for the full test ride with the DJI Pocket 3 as a chin mount camera versus the action cameras. So what I'm doing right now is a test of this system, including the Pocket 3, which is mounted on my chin strap. I'm going to see how the image stabilization holds up with it. And then I've got my GoPro, as you can see it right there, mounted on the handlebars with the RAM system. And hopefully this is getting some decent video. We're going to check it over the railroad tracks and a couple of bumpy roads coming up here. And if this is good enough, we might consider this a setup for some of the scenes. Alright, here's some bumps and things. I'm wondering how the Pocket 3 is holding up to this. I'm going to hit this bigger bump right here. Hello, bird! And chase him down for a while. There he goes. He doesn't know where to go. Alright, here's some more bumps through here. So, just a raw video test of seeing how this is going. The Pocket 3 is not obscuring my vision at all, so I can see right over it and around it. I was originally going to mount this on the handlebar, but I saw a few reviews where just you know, the mountain bikes and a few other things were having issues with it because this handlebar would shake just too much for what was going on the Pocket 3. But this way I think it's gonna hold up pretty well. There's some railroad tracks up here. A couple other little bumps. As long as we make this green light. Oh, we're not gonna, because this guy's gonna slow down too much. It's actually gonna take a sweet time, huh? Alright, so here's a big test. Going over the railroad tracks. Alright, how did that come about? I've got the GoPro Hero 10 on the handlebars, and that was quite a big bump for the handlebars. We'll see how that compared to the Pocket 3 and its gimbal stabilization instead of the image electronic stabilization that all of the action cameras use. One other thing I wanted to point out is going down the highway, if you wanted to see something on the left, we can just do that, and then we can come back to center and do that and do that. We can do that, and that's directly on me, but I want to go 1, 2, 3, have it turn back around, and boom. Should be able to see the gauges and everything else there. I'm going to move that down just a hair. There we go. Alright, so that's a quick test of these two systems. I'm going to stop in here, the quick stop real quick. That's all we have for this week. We'll see you next time on D2 Destinations. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe.